Okay, I've decided I don't want to record all day today, but I still want to upload a video. So what I'm going to do instead is the days that I don't really have time to record my whole day or I don't feel like it, I'm going to do one of these where it's basically me telling stories about my life and maybe what I learned from it. I want to start with my happiest memory with my dad. It's one of one of my happiest memories, and it starts. So we're in my nan's house, and there's a very long hallway, and in the middle of the hallway is the staircase. So you come up, and you're in the middle of the hallway. Me and my dad had just set up this thing called Scare Electrics. For anyone that doesn't know what that is, all it is basically like they're like puzzle pieces, but it's like a track that you can put together however you want, and you put a car in it and you race it around. Anyway, we've just done all the way up to the top of the hallway and all the way back down, and we've sat at one end where my dad's room is. And at the other end of the hallway is my uncle's room. My dad loved, for some reason, getting these Scare electric cars that were really, really nice, very expensive. I guess he collected them, but he loved them, right? And he'd spend, a little pretty penny on them, from what I can understand anyway. And so when my dad would play, he'd get these nice cars out, right? And we've sat at one end where we're about to start racing, and my dad goes, "Cameron, make sure that when you come to the corner that you slow down so that the car doesn't flip off. If you went too fast, even though it was on the track, it could flip off if you went too fast." So my uncle's at the end of the room. My nan was coming up the stairs, and I think she was putting the laundry away. So he says this to me, everyone hears it, and I go, I'm probably about 6 years old at this time, maybe 5. And I go, "Dad, I've got this. Trust me, I've got this." Professional. Anyway, we start off, and I take a fairly good leap forward. About 20% into the track, Dad right up past me. As we've come to the corner, we're about neck and neck. Obviously I slow down because he's just told me to make sure I don't go too fast in the corners. I don't know why, but my dad kept going at the same speed and he's flipped his car off the track. I've come round. I said, "Dad, don't go too fast in the corners, you might flip off." And before that, just before I've said that, everyone's laughed at the fact that he's flipped his car off even though he's just told me not to do what he just did. It's a very simple story, but I do love it, and it's one of those stories that is very simple to remember, and it's right here. It's like I can watch it like a video. It definitely taught me a few things, right? That story teaches me that just because someone gives you advice that they don't follow doesn't mean that you shouldn't follow it. Obviously, you have to be very picky with what you follow, but just because the person that gives you the advice and they don't follow it, doesn't mean that it's not good advice. And secondly, it taught me that adults are human too, right? I know it seems very simple, but even at that age for me, it was, wow, adults have flaws. And I think I learned this very early. I mean, from a lot of different ways, but this was one of them, right? I saw my dad as amazing and perfect, which of course he's not perfect, right? And this was one of those things that was like, he messed up. Okay, we're not. None of us are perfect. Okay, I'm gonna tell one more story. So that was one of my happiest memories, and this is one of my saddest memories. My dad loved getting games and new consoles, like anything that was new, he just loved getting it. And he loved even more than that, was showing me and my brother and sister. If there was any like new food he just found out, or a new piece of clothing he wants to show, or anything like that, he loved it. And for some reason, he always showed us something, and then a few months later, everyone else would have it, and it just seemed like he was always ahead of the curve in that sense. It was really weird. Anyway, my dad had just got this new PS Vita, I think it was, or whatever. It was a handheld console, and he's coming. Cam, look at what I've got. He's so excited to show me this new console, and he gives me it, and he's showing me how to play a game, and we're having fun. Now, the thing is, as a kid, at that time, for some reason, I was a very angry kid. Very angry. Anything could tip me over. And I was playing this game, and I couldn't get past something, and he was sitting next to me. You know, he was talking to whoever it was in the hallway, but I was really annoyed. And I threw this console on the floor. And my dad never, ever raised his voice to me. He's never hit me. Damn, I don't know if my dad's ever even told me off, if I'll be honest. Not that he needed to be fair. But that, all he said was Cam. That's all he said. And it cut me really deeply, because I knew I had just messed up. And I knew that I just actually really upset my dad. And that killed me. It really did. That really was one of the first times I can remember feeling regretful for my anger. And I was not old, I was probably about 5, maybe 6. You know, after that day, I don't think I ever did anything that really warranted a telling off from my dad. And I think it was just because of that. It was only because of that one incident. It taught me not to be angry. Not to be angry over silly things. This story is a core memory, and it has impacted me in who I am today. And it had way more effect on how I behaved. You know, I didn't think that I would enjoy this as much as I have, but I think this is going to be really nice. I think this is going to be one of my favourite kind of videos to do. This was nice. I like doing this. I think every now and then I'm definitely going to sit down and just tell stories, because I love it, and I've got so many of them. You know, it's funny. I always thought I was really good at recalling memories. You know, a lot of people go, "How do you even remember?" And I'm like, "You don't? Like what? How do you not remember these core memories and things that you do and things you see?" For a lot of my life, I just thought I was good at it. You know, up until I listened to this book called Advantages of Dyslexia, and in that it tells you that a lot of people with dyslexia have a very easy time in recalling memories. You know, I've been hating on this thing my whole life, and it is actually one of the best things about me, being able to recall stories. It's me being able to recall stories is what makes me. I can watch them like a video in here. It makes me happy. It makes me remember things that I've learned. It makes me be able to tell stories like my dad's that make other people happy. Yeah. Okay, guys, I'm gonna go now. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.